I'm Bobby,
Hey, I'm Nathan.
and we're from the past, but we're
We're gonna talk about the future because this could be a podcast.
let's go back to the prognostication.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yes.
All right. So, what do you think's going to happen this week? That when people are listening to this, we've already declared it. Because I'm going to go that the American Stock Exchange has collapsed,
Oh.
and I'm going to be in the middle of a hellscape.
Oh. Yeah. I don't think.
It's that Oppenheimer will win Best Picture.
Sure.
Nolan will win Best Director, and the New York Stock Exchange will collapse while I'm in New York City.
I haven't heard enough buzz about smaller commercial banks on the verge of collapse yet.
Okay.
I haven't heard that yet.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be the commercial lenders to commercial real estate. That's going to be the shoe to drop. That's going to be the real precursor to major collapse in the financial industry.
Okay.
There was one smaller mid-sized bank that has been having some problems lately, but it's nothing as close to with Silicon Valley Bank or anything like that. So I don't know if that's it.
Well, the Silicon Valley Bank proved that banks can fail, and we'll just take care of it.
Well, golly. Oh, it's that's a real problem. But then again, that's bigger money, I guess. I feel like it's.
Wow, you do like. I know you don't like when I say the NPR of it all.
Yeah,
but
no, I know. I feel like
my gosh, but you are just wiping away how that's a big problem, right?
Oh no. I think like commercial real estate is facing some very significant headwinds right now, and I think that they have a lot of debt on their books right now that is really unsustainable.
So does the American government and economy.
Well, the American government.
Anyway, let's talk about. I said that the financial system is going to collapse.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my broad stroke. It's not whether you think it's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
These are my predictions.
Yeah.
So what
What are the odds on that?
What are my odds?
Yeah, what's DraftKings got on that one?
What's DraftKings got on that one? Hey, this episode's brought to you by DraftKings, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
That's
my sweeping.
That's your big. I'm going to say my big, overly huge prediction, dark horse prediction, is that one of the two major candidates between Trump or Biden, one of them will have a significant health scare, and I'm saying specifically a stroke.
Okay.
Between one of the two
This
of
week.
them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Bold move. Okay.
I think that's one of
Big swing.
I think that's the big swing.
Okay.
If you're looking for a big, if it like dark horse.
I don't wish it on anyone, but
No.
I appreciate the swing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's. I'm not saying going to say which one.
Nope.
Because
Leave it
honestly,
open.
because quite frankly, it can happen.
Biden did the State of the Union at this point.
Yeah. Oh golly. Oh jeez.
So it's
Oh my gosh.
really that's a good swing.
Can we talk? Okay.
That's going to be good. I can't wait.
By the way, pandering.
Now you're pandering.
No, like he released a video of him.
It was already nominated for Best Picture.
Of him interviewing former Hollywood presidents, Hollywood actors who've portrayed presidents, and asking them about, hey, any recommendations, anything I could do as I'm going into the State of the Union address. What advice do you have for me? And it's just because this is a thing. Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah, yes, within the
After
past,
the multiple State of the Unions that he's already done?
Yes. Well, he has. Well, I guess multiple, like being kind of the bare minimum. I think he's done 3 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than one.
Yeah. So anyhow, yes. It's this ridiculous
Is
thing.
this a bit?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke video. Coming from a dude who refused to do the Super Bowl halftime interview, a guy who's not going through and doing hard-hitting interviews, anything where he's going to get any kind of legitimate pushback. He's doing bullshit TikToks and bullshit YouTube and X videos where it's like him talking fucking garbage, and it's ridiculous. So that's why I'm saying The stroke is impending. I guess.
Okay.
No.
Well, you don't want to give your hand.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's the deal. You give Donald John Trump the right amount of cocaine right now, it's lights out.
I've never
It's-
touched the stuff. I've never done it. No, I don't need it. Just get some good. Get a good cup of coffee from Starbucks. It's all I need.
You're telling me that. Yeah,
I've never even seen cocaine in my life.
I have a hard time believing Donald Trump being in the New York in the '80s, not being around.
There's
cocaine.
3 things I know about Donald Trump. He's never paid for an abortion. He's never done cocaine, and he's earned every dollar he's ever gotten.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, that's
Well, that's America, though, if you look at it.
Right. I think that's my dark horse prediction. One of the major candidates is going to have a
Podcast
stroke.
from the future. Cole, what do you got?
Big swings.
Big swings.
Big
buddy.
swings.
Donald Trump gets busted for cocaine,
I
and
think,
no one cares.
I feel like that's like so easy to sweep under the rug compared to so many other things.
Oh, cocaine's really it's just a powder.
It's a powder. You can
just
really sweep it away. You can really sweep it away.
It's like you can just sneeze and it goes away.
Like, what would it take? What would it take for like the MAGA majority to like
Turn on Trump?
to turn on? Like, how much cocaine would he have to like?
I don't think it would take turning. I don't think they would like.
Do you think? Oh,
It's interesting because it is it is a polarizing topic,
yes,
and that's fine.
yeah.
And we are centrist here, by the way.
For the most part,
Okay, like we have to understand that. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't think Donald Trump is the devil and the worst
No.
thing that's happened to American democracy since 9/11.
I think he's a piece of shit.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much the ticket he ran on, was
Yeah.
that he's a piece of shit,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take care of all these other pieces of shit because I'm a piece of shit
Yeah.
that knows how to take care of all these other pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And that's resonated with people.
Sure.
So along those lines,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything he could do. Like, I always thought it was hilarious that Donald Trump like ran through like the religious right, and it's like, well, clearly, if you've looked at the man, he's never.
There's a
I don't
track
think
record
Donald.
here.
Yeah, I don't think Donald Trump's ever been like.
Is he on a
By a
third,
church.
third marriage, or
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And Melania, like they're all like it's all farcical as
Right.
far as like, well, you can't claim to be a religious man and then also be on your third wife and like just have the lavish lifestyle that you have.
Yes.
Like those things don't exist. But that is a feather in his cap though, as to how he can relate to people that are just like they don't live in the same worlds, but he can relate to them. Like I don't.
Right.
That's a very special
so-
power, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
a very dangerous power to people that also want to be in power.
Yeah, the idea that somebody that doesn't have a pot to piss in is rooting for the guy with the golden toilet
Correct.
is fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
We can.
I don't know if the analogy works out in the same way, but it's a little bit like the emperor has no clothes, like kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
where you just these don't work out. Like when you drive by a house, or a trailer that has Trump as Rambo, a flag on a flag
yeah.
that's outside, and he's like firing a gun. I drive by. I laugh my ass off because it's just funny. Like that's hilarious.
It's funny, and that, I think he's all about that. Hey, yeah, we believe we're gonna be funny.
Yep.
We're gonna it's. I think he understands. I think he understands that. Although I've heard
Does
multiple.
Trump?
Yeah, I've heard from multiple. I've heard from multiple people. I've heard multiple.
I've heard one other person.
I've
tell
heard
me.
multiple stories say that Trump doesn't have a sense of humor. Like that.
Oh, I know. No, I see. And I push back. I think he's the funniest president we've ever had.
He's the funniest president,
Yeah,
but whether or not he means it,
I think he absolutely.
I don't know if he means it.
I think he absolutely knows what he's doing. This is the
Like-
delicate dance that you have to walk around the polarized communities that we're in right now, where you're like, unless I say that Donald Trump is a piece of shit and he's a horrible person, he's the worst thing, he's basically Hitler, like yada yada yada. I can't say anything like, oh, but he's funny though. He does have a sense of humor. There was a Comedy Central roast. I mean, before he was president, he's the only president to have a roast outside of the correspondence dinners.
Who's the?
But that was the only impetus for him running.
He punched Vince McMahon. on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
come on, I mean, and shaved his head
I
actually.
think did he take a Stone Cold Stunner as well? Or I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah,
I can't attest to that. No.
I mean,
it's
we all know Vince McMahon's a piece of shit too. So
McMahon's-
Donald got there before any of us did.
yeah, like because this is my whole thing. Like both can be true. Like yeah, of course he's a piece of shit. He's never hidden from being a piece of shit.
No, right.
But that doesn't mean he can't be funny or have a sense of humor. And
Right.
like, in going back to your statement, you said you talked to a couple people.
No. I've heard it like I've heard like a couple of comedians. I want to say it was like SNL and other such things.
Yeah.
Where they've like interacted
Not a good
with
start
them. For me, I
for
cannot.
them towing the line, basically.
Yeah. Where they just say, "Oh, like I pitched him this, I pitched him that," and like he didn't get it. Like he went along with it.
Yeah.
He trusted me to like go along with the joke, but he didn't understand the joke to the point where
But again, like that's to that point. Like he cannot understand. He could understand that level of comedy or what they're talking about. Maybe that avant-garde, obscure comedy.
Yeah.
But he's hitting that, Big Bang Theory style level of comedy
Right.
where it's just like we're gonna come out, we're gonna be the best, and then we're gonna call them retards, and then it's like that was hilarious.
Yeah,
You know,
I know. Well,
like
I'm-
the day drunk at the bar,
Yeah.
where you just have to say a movie quote, and then everyone's like, "Oh, Tony's funny. Like Tony knows what he's doing." Like,
Oh, is that okay?
like I think that's the level that he hits on more so than like the elitist
Sure.
leftist NPR of it all. you know?
Obama.
Yeah, like Obama, like is the top 3 funniest presidents we've had. I mean, Clinton was hilarious.
Well, I mean,
Then don't leave out George W.
George W. Yeah.
Obama was on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Yeah, and I think Obama has a great sense of humor.
I think Obama has a sense
like
of humor.
those, but they're definitely in a race of like who's the funniest president we've ever had. But if you hear FDR, like back in the day,
Oh
God.
no, Woodrow Wilson.
I was
that
gonna
dude.
say Grover Cleveland.
Yeah, don't get me started on Grover Cleveland. Oh,
more
my
like
gosh.
rolling on the floor, Cleveland. Huh?
No,
No?
absolutely not.
No. Dude, George Washington had some zingers.
Yeah.
He was like just constantly doing stand up. They're like, sit
Just,
down.
Can you
just-
stop doing bits? We're trying to plan the next battle to win our freedom,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're going to be hanged and like drawn and quartered. Guys,
Did you hear about that schmuck that went to the dentist? Huh? He's like, I think my wooden teeth are chipping.
And he's like, dentist. I think you meant an arborist. Hi-oh!
Hey-oh. Yeah, I was eating at the commissary the other day, and I was like, hey, is this the same horse that we ate last week? Huh? These generals better figure out a general direction.
Yeah, get myself some General Sows.
Those are Asian people we don't know exist yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the.
I think Renaissance time stand-up comedy might be an SNL bit.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
No?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. It's weird. Like the evolution of comedy is so funny. Like it's so weird.
That's a pun right there, bud.
The evolution.
The evolution of comedy, or an oxymoron. Depending
Are we
on how you
living in
wanna-
the funniest time ever?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, we're living, I believe, in a sea change of comedy right now. Where because here's the thing with Shane Gillis hosting SNL
'Kay.
recently, and again, I'm going to lump Shane Gillis with Donald Trump here for a little bit.
Okay.
And just follow the ride. Follow the ride.
Go on.
Donald Trump has created a person where you're like, I don't want to defend him, but I'm also not going to jump on board of shitting on him at every point in turn.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and even if I don't agree with everything he says, or even if I agree with a little bit of what he says, and doesn't mean like I'm gonna be going hanging like waving a flag,
Right.
showing up at protests and shit like that. Right? Because both can be true. I can be like, oh yeah, he's got some points, and then else he fails over here, like a little bit the
Yeah,
centrist thing
sure.
about it. Shane Gillis falls comedically in that thing. Like he has risen up the ranks of comedians.
Yeah.
You know, in especially the podcast comedians, the internet comedians and shit like that.
Yeah.
And there's things that he does that I'm like, oh, that's funny. And there's things that he does I'm like, it's not that funny. And it's fine. And that's perfectly fine. So when he goes on SNL and basically does his monologue bit,
I don't know. Like, so much of his monologue was taken almost directly from
his stand up.
his special.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah. Because it's introducing him to a
wider audience,
a
yeah.
huge audience. And so you just go and like Cole and I, we were talking. Cole's just watching the penis hands porn still. Second week in a row, he's watching penis hands. It's crazy. Like you have to basically do your bit. Like you have to do your stand up bit because
sure.
no one knows you as a celebrity. So why am I listening to you talk? It's the same problem we have with this podcast. It's like we are not celebrities, so why are people listening to us talk?
Oh, I've been asking myself that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So
With Shane Gillis,
oh yeah.
I'm just saying with Shane Gillis, like there is a change to go back. Like he has a bit about being related to people with Down syndrome and
Yes,
everything like
yes.
that. So he's bringing up the tatted, of everything,
Yes.
and that triggers people on the left because you can't say that word. And it's like, well, he's talking about it in a nuanced way that is within like the reason of he's talking affectionately
Yeah,
about them.
yeah.
He's making fun of himself. He's making fun, and it's not coming from a place of malice, which is when it always goes to these things that you quote unquote can't joke about.
Intent.
Like you're not laughing at it, you're laughing with it, and
Yeah.
he's laughing with it in
Yeah.
this. Do I find it funny? Not necessarily,
Yeah.
but
The whole idea, like everybody gets apple juice. We're still trying to figure that out. That didn't hit with you.
was that?
Like the idea that there's the Down syndrome cafe where it's just all Down syndrome people working at the cafe. He's like, it's don't applaud. It's fine. I mean, everybody's getting apple juice. We're still trying to figure that out. Like, I thought that was funny.
Okay.
That's a funny idea of everybody gets apple juice no matter what. That's funny.
Yeah, well, and it's like those. I don't know. I feel like he's not figuring it out as he goes, like we're clearly
No.
doing. But like those things that hit, like it's not the bits that are like resonating in a way that are like, oh, this is a true master of his craft. Like he is.
Sure.
He's jumping, and this is kind of like
He's not Dave Chappelle.
Well, exactly. And I don't expect him to be. And I think like when you look at like Theo Vaughn comes to mind as well as another comedian where you're like, oh, you're just you're a storyteller that people go like, oh shucks, I love listening to this guy tell a story.
Yeah.
My uncle the other day, okay, like he ran over a possum and then he held that possum up and he stuck his finger right up his asshole and it was like hilarious. Like he did it, and then what he did is like it's like a Pop-Tart. You get it? A Pop-Tart, and it's that kind of thing like resonates with a certain percentage of people where they just
Sure.
I'm doing a fake
I
Theo Vaughn bit.
know you are.
But
And this is why. Here's the deal. Like, for a long period of time, I thought I wanted to be a stand-up comedian as a child. Like, I really did. And I entered into a talent contest as a stand-up comedian. It didn't go very well. I went to a couple of summer camps and did some very bad stand-up. It wasn't very good. Some really bad impressions, and I was like, "Oh, this is much harder than I thought." And then watched even more stand-up, and then I realized it's so hard to be good at this format. This format it's almost adversarial with the audience and the comedian. Hopefully you get an audience where it is, hey, we're all here to be a good time. As compared to, oh, really? You're going to try to make me laugh? You go ahead and fucking try. So that's like that dynamic has always been something for me where it's like, this is so incredibly difficult that I want that quite frankly, I don't want anything to do with it. So
That's the most laughs he's ever gotten in his life, right there.
yeah. So
But you're scared of getting.
No, well, not. I'm not scared. I'm not
The
scared.
boos are longer, by the way.
I'm not. I'm not scared. I've never been scared of being booed.
No.
I've been scared of indifference. How about that? Like,
Well,
you know,
but that's a callous though, because
Yeah.
again, because I appreciate like your courage to get up there and try and do it and everything.
Yeah.
And like as a musician, I've gotten up and performed in front of thousands of people, hundreds of times, thousands of times, over the course
Yeah.
of my playing career. So there's a callous where you don't give a fucking shit like
Sure.
what they hear. And now we do have the power of doing other people's bits essentially. Like we
Yeah.
can play other people's songs. But there was a long time where we were only doing our songs and stuff like that. And so we're showing up to, whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, whatever. And we're still playing, still starting off, and here's a song we wrote and shit like that. You're putting yourself out there, basically. So you get over that of, like, the adversarial nature
Sure.
of the audience and the performer, because it will always kind of pop up, even if they're there to see you,
Yeah.
Even if they like what you're doing. Like, there's been a number of drunk people that are just like, hey, can you play blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, no, like, it's not the time for that right now, man. Please
Yeah.
go away, I really like what you guys are doing. Now, the comedic side of it is that you're trying to get people to laugh. And there's that nuance of what humor is. And different comedians handle it in a different way.
right.
But, like someone like Norm Macdonald could go up there and bomb on purpose
Yeah.
and not care. But also he's Norm Macdonald and he knows that there's another paycheck waiting, another thing, because
Sure,
it's just his
sure.
thing. Like this thing that happened last week with Nick Swartzen when he was super high on edibles. And
I gotta check this out.
check it out. But it's like the people still, when he was getting ushered off stage, were like, I love you, love you, love you. They still love him.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that's way less like he can come back from that.
Sure.
But the person starting out and then bombing, because I've seen people bomb before,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think I've told it on the podcast before, but like one of the worst shows we ever had was playing after a comedy open mic night in Los Angeles. And it was just 2 hours of people bombing on
Yeah.
stage and clearing everybody out of the room. And anyone that laughed, like my wife laughed at one person's joke. And then the whole
And
show.
she's an easy laugh. by
She
the
is
way.
an easy laugh. Absolutely. She's an easy laugh. And, but like they zoned in and they're like, oh, did you just laugh? All right, cool. Here's the rest of the show is dedicated to you. And you're like, Jesus, that's not really like, that's not the point of a stand-up comedy show is to make one person laugh and then zone in on that. So you have to find your own voice. You have to develop what that is. And that's so scary to do in front of people
Yeah.
consistently. And so many people don't have the courage to do that. So
When you were a musician, as a musician,
thanks.
how much do you hate being background music?
As I don't, it took time to like learn how to appreciate it, like and learn what to do,
Yeah.
like because you're not the show, and I
Yeah.
think that's that goes into being, I think, a good comedian. Like like if you can let go of the ego in any kind of performance,
Yeah.
that's what allows you to be a good performer. Because when the show's not about you and the show's about the audience and the show's about making the people have a good time, that's all it's about. So when we moved back here and we started playing places that
'Kay.
we're not,
We're your background music.
we're background music. Yeah,
you
we're
guys-
not. People are at the place.
Yeah.
And they're getting a drink, and there just so happens to be music there.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's different than like we came to see this band. Okay, guys, hey, watch and listen. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
It's not that. So you have to change everything, and that's really never the case when it's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
think that's-
background stand-up.
There's no
comedian.
background stand-up comedian.
No.
Absolutely not. No.
But there is a world where, like, you go to a comedy club and everyone's primed to laugh, everyone's ready to laugh, and you can,
right.
I do improv comedy, and
Yeah.
the improv comedy that we do, like, there's always a room of people waiting to laugh.
Just waiting to laugh, ready to have a good time. You
Which-
get a group of people together that's ready to have a good time.
And
It
I
should be-
completely acknowledge that is totally different than going in front of 5 people at 12:30 at night at the Comedy Cellar in New York.
Yeah.
You know, where they're not going to laugh and they might not laugh and you just have to eat shit until. But there's growth in that. There is
You
growth
can't
in that.
compare like comedians to musicians. I do think one is so much more like it's easy to be passive with music as compared to a comedian, which does involve like you have to be
As a
engaged.
performer or an audience?
As an audience member. Like it's like you have to be engaged in comedy. You can't just
See, I disagree.
you can't just like find something funny just out of the corner of your eye. Like it's you have to be engaged.
But lowbrow humor though is exactly that though. Like the I don't want to shit on like specific people, but like the Carrot Tops of the world is like you don't have to pay
Is that
attention.
is that a shot?
There's not. Yeah. Hear it on all levels, Carrot Top. Okay. You. No, but like
Yeah.
it's you're catering to people that care more about the explosions than care more about like the listening and development of what's going on.
Yeah.
And does that make sense at all?
No,
No. Okay,
no, I disagree. No, I'm just saying that it's
Cool. Nuanced conversation.
well, I think that it's a comedian like to be a comedian and watch comedy like you are invested as compared to music where I feel like it's much more passive. You know, there are people who are actively listening to music, but it's so much easier to be a passive listener to music compared to a passive listener of comedy. You can't just sit there and just kind of listen to comedy and hopefully kind of, I guess, take up social cues from other people around you and just laugh along with it, I guess.
So when I'm performing and everything,
Yeah.
and then I can be okay with being a background performer.
Yeah.
Is the level of you like, what's your level of insecurity with being on stage? Is it because when you're playing a character, not being?
It's kind of silly to compare and contrast. I feel like a performer is a performer is a performer, right? Everybody would say that. But there is so much of a nuanced difference between being a comedian being as compared to being a musician. You're both putting yourself out there. I think that's kind of where that kind of stops, in my opinion. Having
been both.
Having never been both, quite frankly. No, so I think it's something where there's a certain level of passiveness from the majority of people. When people go to a comedy show, they are looking to be actively engaged. How much, depending on the show of music, whether or not they want to be actively engaged. I think there's enough people getting dragged to both that.
But people, again, it's a different audience because when people show up for a comedy show,
Yeah.
they know the protocol is to listen when the comedian comes up.
Sure.
They know that's the protocol. Not everyone that goes into a music show or performance
Yeah.
understands that, like, hey, my job is to listen, because they can come in the middle of the show and they can have the same experience or be
Well, there's also the difference of, are you going to a bar or are you going to an actual music venue? Too?
Right. It really depends on.
But the same thing happens though, like where it's, if I walk into a music venue and the band's still playing or a band is playing,
Yeah.
it's like, well, if I'm on my phone or talking to my friend, the band doesn't really know because the band's loud.
And that's not callous, right?
Well, you don't. Again, you're not really focused on that. You're not
Yeah.
really focused on the individuals in the crowd.
you're listening to the whole ambiance, the whole vibe, if you will.
Sure, yeah. As a musician, I can speak to, like, you're reading the room as
Yeah.
far as what they want. You're keeping an eye out on that stuff. But when it's the comedic stuff, you're reading the totality of the room, and you don't care about what one person's talking about or what one
Well,
person's
and-
doing or what one person would want to hear.
I
You're
think
trying to
you-
make everyone laugh.
Well, and I would say the same thing for musicians as well. You want the whole room to vibe out, if you will.
I mean, it's
You're not going to be latching as a musician. You're not going to be latching onto one dude. Hopefully,
Yeah, no, but I have though. Like, absolutely have.
You have like,
Absolutely,
really?
yeah. Because
Okay.
if there's a room full of 50 people, and then one dude is
You
like,
saw the one guy bobbing his head.
Yeah.
You're like, all right,
yeah. So
I'm with you, man.
We were performing once, and like we were doing our lounge hotel show and everything like that, and
you talking about here in town or
here in town, absolutely, we were doing our lounge show, and one dude like that never seen before, out of town dude, was just like vibing on every obscure thing that we would do and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Can you reference obscure for me? Can you give me a touch point?
we would do like Whiskey Town or any kind of like
I'm not
Wilco
familiar,
stuff
so, okay.
or Hayes Carl or any kind of stuff like that.
You've lost me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's obscure.
That's why we can
Okay.
have these nuanced conversations.
No,
'Cause
that's
you
obscure.
understand these references.
Yeah. Well, no.
So anyway, so he said, I'll give you $100 if you can play the song that's in my head.
Ugh,
And I'm like,
that's a challenge.
all right, cool. And so we started playing a song, and it wasn't it. Played another song, wasn't it. Played another song, wasn't it.
Yeah.
Fourth song, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's do Gillian Welsh. It's Miss Ohio. Let's do this.
Oh, okay.
And so we played that song. And in the middle of the song, dude fucking comes up, takes out his fucking wallet, opens up his wallet, takes out $100 bill and throws it like right in our tip jar. He's like, I don't know how you fuckers knew, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like,
Yeah.
out of all the people,
Yeah.
he was clearly the one vibing
You're
the
the one-
most
yeah, you
about
saw
what
it.
we
You
were
saw it.
doing. And I was like, and we just lucked out to know the song, and because I told him after the song, I'm like, you could just lied and just said like, no, that wasn't the song,
That wasn't
that
it.
wasn't it,
Yeah.
But based on what we were playing, and that the detective riddle that we the path that we could figure out,
Yeah. The songs you can see him bopping along with each and every song.
right?
So I think this is very interesting. I find that having not done either of these things really truly, the idea that I would think that callous would be from the musician side of not wanting to. I'm here. I am. I'm doing my job. I'm background music. I am projecting out in the world. I am listening to kind of a higher level of making sure that no one's rushing for the door. Kind of my music. Okay. As compared to a comedian where I'm trying to actively listen to voices, making sure that I'm getting active feedback.
Well, I think like maybe to make an analogy that we are not in the situation to actually make is to be like a comedian doing a corporate gig.
No, hey, keep going.
I understand, but you can't have a bit within a bit.
I'm not doing a bit.
It's not a
within
visual bit.
I'm not doing a bit within a bit. Hey, Cole, can you get me a beer?
What?
Oh, cool. I can cut that out. That's fine.
I'm trying to make
Yes.
eye contact with him.
He's just watching the Iowa game on his.
I don't play till Sunday.
I'll take a beer too. I think hearing stories of comedians doing a corporate bit is very tangential to being the lounge act
Yeah.
background music
Sure.
because they're there to be there, and that's your job, is to be there. Your job's not to be the show. Your job is to be the
Be
person there, and that's okay because those are the jobs that generally pay money. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And outside of traveling to Tucson or something like that to play a casino or whatever.
Tucson's low. I can't imagine like anybody, like any comedian wanting to go to any comedy club that's not in New York or Los Angeles, or I guess now Austin or Chicago. Like,
Or Vegas.
well,
Or Phoenix.
Phoenix. I think Phoenix
Or
is-
Nashville.
Phoenix is kind of maybe, but the idea of like wanting to travel to.
No comedian wants it. No one wants to
travel.
No
Well,
one
the
wants
idea,
to travel.
the idea of them wanting to do that, I feel like that's them putting on a show. Anytime. Well, I'm listening to.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about like listening to David Spade going to bullshit fucking casinos in the middle of nowhere
Yeah.
and doing it as a show. And like I don't think anybody wants to do that. I don't think any comedian really wants to do that.
No, that's what pays the money.
How different is that from a corporate gig?
Well, at least there's people there that are willing to see you and laugh at you, and they're there to pay money.
Right.
Like a corporate gig, you're surrounded by a bunch of people that
Yeah.
are way wealthier than you and that don't give a shit who you are. You're the dog and pony show. You're the jester. Versus like going to play the casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're the thing
Yeah.
that people are going to talk about for weeks leading up to it and weeks afterwards. you know?
Well, what's his name? King of Queens. God, what
Kevin James.
No. Patton Oswalt.
Mm-hmm.
Like him. Have you ever heard that story about him doing a casino, and literally they just drunkenly shout "King of Queens"
Yeah.
for like literally 45 minutes. Could barely get any of my fucking stuff out, and it was the easiest fucking gig because they were just shouting "King."
Because everyone thinks that they're the funniest person in the room. They're funnier than that dude on the stage.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Yeah.
because it's a
That's
hard thing to do.
Definitely a lack of understanding of etiquette at comedy shows for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Having never really been to a lot of comedy shows.
You should go to more.
I should, but then again, like also, I don't like for me when we were talking earlier about like I think I want to be a stand-up comedian and finding out how hard it is, but then also just like how non-genuine it is as well. Okay, so Seinfeld. All right, Seinfeld gets done. The television program wraps up.
What program was
It
that?
was Seinfeld. It was just called Seinfeld.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it was on NBC. It aired for 9 seasons. It was pretty okay. Anyhow,
It was pretty okay.
anyhow,
All right. You sold me.
Jerry Seinfeld, he went on a national tour after Seinfeld
This
ended.
is the guy. He was on the show.
Jerry Seinfeld was on the television program Seinfeld.
Okay.
He played Jerry Seinfeld
Makes sense.
on the show.
This is a biography?
In a way, but not.
Wow.
Anyhow, so,
Sounds like it's about nothing.
Cole, that's 2 on the nose. Come on, man. Come
So
on.
anyway.
You can't take the actual log line. You fuck.
so Jerry, because we're on first name basis,
Friend of the show.
went on a tour of the nation, America, and went and did stand-up comedian.
He went stand-up comedian. He went
Yeah,
full stand-up
full
comedian.
stand-up comedian. And so
Was he funny?
So my mother, because both my father and I enjoy the program,
Okay.
bought us tickets to go to Des Moines, and it was like it was his last stop on the tour,
He decided to end in Des Moines.
right, of all places.
Okay.
And then
Which is the joke of it all.
he decided, you
He
know
likes
what?
the airport there.
That's where
It's
a nice airport.
Is it though?
Des Moines is one of the best places to commit suicide. So
Ugh.
if you're going to end a tour anywhere,
Is that on a Wikipedia page somewhere I can reference? Anyhow, so Mr. Seinfeld decided to
now we're not on a first name basis.
lots transpired
Yeah,
in the
okay.
past 2 minutes. Anyhow,
I think it's been 2 minutes,
it feels like 3.
but 40 seconds.
Anyhow, so Jerry Seinfeld decided he wanted to refund everybody's tickets in Des Moines. He was going to do 2 shows, and he didn't want to charge anybody. He wanted everybody to come who bought tickets, but he wanted everybody to go to the show and then get a refund afterwards.
Got that sweet MasterCard money.
I guess that's what it was.
Yeah.
Anyhow, as I was sitting there in the Des Moines Civic Center watching Jerry Seinfeld do stand-up comedy, it was all the same bits, like that he strung together from the program, that were like when he would do his stand-up bits for the show. All of those came from the past 20 years of him doing stand-up comedy. That was his hour that he peppered in over the course of 9 seasons.
And Larry David.
And Larry David. And so it was repackaged back into his hour-long show. And it was,
Because he didn't tour during that time.
he didn't,
This is him getting back into stand-up.
yeah, but it was the same. It wasn't new stuff. It wasn't that George Carlin, every year I'm going to come out with a new special. I'm going to go and I'm going to make new stuff. That was not the idea. So it felt so ungenuine. It felt so fake
Disingenuous.
because it was stuff that I've seen 1,000 times. And I know that that's a little bit different now with people watching bits on TikTok and clapping because they saw the bit that they saw on TikTok. But for
Well,
me,
it's a little bit though too. Like the Netflix special has really changed that as well, because once you get the Netflix special, you got to start working on you have to have almost a new.
you have to have a
hour
whole nother hour.
before you start touring on the Netflix special. So
Yeah.
I see both sides. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. Like you can laugh at the bit that you're talking about, like a greatest hits album versus where we can't wait to hear the new stuff, which is
Right.
where the band comedian analogy overlaps, because
Right.
there's a time and a place when people show up to see the new stuff for a band, and they show up to see the greatest hits for a band as well.
Right. Well, I think it's too. I think I'm going to push back a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think what makes music great is familiarity. Understand and hearing that music, hearing it over and over and again, and then you start linking emotions and start linking feelings, and becoming more familiar with a sound.
And can I say though too, like your connection to the artist is a thing that builds that bond.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's a through line for both of those things. So
yeah, right. Comedy is it's about being surprised. Comedy is about the unexpected. Having a genuine laugh is. And don't get me wrong, you can put on Napoleon Dynamite, you can still laugh at things that are
you've
funny.
seen before.
You've seen before. But the most genuine stuff is things that you're surprised by.
Sure.
Comedy
Which is
comes
the same element of music, by the way. Like when you're surprised by something new,
Right.
it's tougher to do with music. But go on.
You're not wrong. So for me, like hearing something that I've heard at that point in my life, watching reruns of Seinfeld, I've heard that bit about women with checkbooks acting like it's like a gun, and I'm like twirling it around in the air. I've heard that.
What is a checkbook?
A checkbook is it's a book of paper that you write and say, I owe you this much money. You can claim it from my bank, and then you do that and you sign your name at the bottom.
Gotcha.
Anyhow,
Okay.
when was the last time you used a checkbook? Anyhow, the idea of being surprised, and I wasn't surprised. I was only surprised by hearing the same bits. It's like, oh, I've fucking heard this bit 5 times before in my life. This isn't surprising. This isn't interesting to me. And that's where, for me, stand-up comedy kind of breaks down. Because I don't find it surprising, and I don't, because it's so well rehearsed, because they are trying to get it noogie down to that little perfect timing bit, and it works perfectly that one time, and that's it. And then past that, it's lost its magic.
So you're basing all of your thoughts on stand-up comedy about one time of seeing
No,
Jerry Seinfeld?
no, that's not it.
Okay.
No. I mean, that's why I'm not going to sit there and own a DVD stand-up special.
Well-
there's no stand-up special where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to rewatch that every year on the year.
Well, because here's what because I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because when someone's regurgitating their same act or the same thing that
Yeah.
you've seen over and over again, because that was the standard. That was the standard
was
for decades.
I mean,
To
honestly,
do your same act, you have the same hour over and over again.
outside of Carlin did it for years and years and years.
Louis,
Louis picked up that standard, and I feel like now that is the standard
That
between
is,
between
Everybody.
Chappelle, Bill Burr, all of those guys. They're coming up with
but a
new
lot of
stand-up
those
special.
guys though, or a lot of those comedians, like they enter a realm where no matter what they say, the audience is going to laugh. Because
Right.
then now you're entering this rarefied air where, like, if I can get up there and talk about nothingness, nothing, and not even just
Ryan
get up
Gosling reading
the phone
the
book,
phone book. Yeah.
and people are just laughing their ass off because they're predisposed to laugh no matter what, because of the height and fame, money, looks of all this shit going on. that's where it kind of, because I've had this thing happen with me. Like, I love Tom Segura, I love Bert Kreischer. I feel like I ran into their specials and stuff like that before everyone else did. You know,
Yeah.
like, and whether that was a marketing ploy or whatever the fuck, but I remember watching Tom Segura's Netflix special long before anyone fucking heard of Tom Segura.
Yeah.
And buying $40 tickets to go sit 3 rows back at a Chicago, Metro theater and stuff like that.
How chubby was he?
He was chubby. Absolutely, he was chubby. And I've watched him change and so, like that. And of course, I still find him funny. I think he's a very funny person, but like, he's not nearly as funny as he was when I first discovered him. And the same thing with Bert Kreischer and everything like that, where I'm like it's a little different. It's just a little different because now all you can do is go talk about your life in front. And it's the weird thing that's happened with this day and age of the social media aspect of it all, that all that shit. We can talk about like, I don't know. You can just talk about like things you're buying and like, oh, people are like, oh, he bought a Lamborghini. Isn't that funny? It's like, I don't know why that's funny. I don't know why. Like, it was funny when he bought a Lamborghini as a joke, or he rented a Lamborghini as a joke to play on Ari Shaffir because like he thought that Ari Shaffir would think that he actually bought the Lamborghini.
Sure.
And it's like, that's a funny bit. I understand that. Them walking into a casino with like $50,000 to play with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, over Super Bowl weekend. It's like,
Is that a bit?
that happened. That happened. And it's like, well, that's not nearly as funny. Like, it's just kind of like two Florida rich dudes being like, oh,
Are they both Florida?
yeah, they're both Florida.
Okay.
And me as a Florida boy, like,
You love that Florida.
I love that Florida, but I can see where the snake eats its tail, basically.
Sure.
Where it stops being funny because you stop being hungry, maybe, and that's kind of where it becomes.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's the deal. I'm not planning on watching Bert Kreischer's stand-up special anytime soon. You?
Yeah, I mean, I watch them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, it's definitely different than it was when it first started.
Sure. I think, once again, it's being surprised by the whole story of the machine. I think because that was surprising. It was a fun little tale. The first time you heard it, it was like, this is amazing. This is a fun story.
Again, we saw Bert Kreischer in Nashville probably 10 years ago, and
And it killed.
yeah, like we knew the machine story, and that's his closer. That's his coming out Eagles Hotel California. Like, we're going to do this as our closer. He treats it very much as a rock band situation, and it was great. Like, he did a great job and everything like that. But it gets to a point with a comedian, I think, even like Chappelle, like, runs into the situation where you're just like, they're going to laugh at anything you say, because if they don't laugh at it, they're going to be on the other side of the party, and they want to
Okay.
be in the party. And if they don't laugh at it, then they're not cool.
Yeah.
So they'll laugh at anything. And I think that's a difficult thing to Jerry Seinfeld's point. Like, he removes himself from that, and then he just says, all right, no, I'm going to completely do this whole different thing, and I'm going to make it. And Louis does it all the time. Like,
Sure.
and-
I really wish I would have. I've never watched there's a documentary about him throwing away
Yep.
everything. I think it's just comedian, right? It's just like
Yep.
Jerry Seinfeld comedian.
That's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Even that bit where he's sitting down with Bill Cosby. Did you like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, everything is like, again, yes, Bill Cosby. I'm not. Is Bill Cosby Donald Trump? Yes, sure, fine, whatever. Whatever. I'm sorry. Do we have to negate all fucking conversation or any point of relevance that has ever
it's
had?
funny. No.
Yeah.
There is. Speaking of recent events, RFK, like talking about him and
Junior?
RFK Jr. Yes, thank you.
Because if RFK was talking, that's a bold
That's
prediction.
it's a real problem. No, it was RFK talking about like him flying on to Epstein's Island and just like him trying to explain away it's like, listen, in New York I see a lot of people. I mean, I've hung out with a lot of people. I mean, I've had drinks with Bill Cosby, OJ Simpson's been to my house multiple times. Like all of these fucking just like really like Harvey Weinstein and me, like we hung out like quite a bit. It was very funny. So that's what I'm saying is that OJ Simpson, what? Go.
I'm listening.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Natural storyteller.
him hanging out with Bill Cosby. That's funny. But same with Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld, that was like a significant part of Comedian was like him going to a Bill Cosby show and saying like, God, he still got it. He's so good. And it's so far removed from 1999 that it's
Why is it so far removed from 1999?
Oh no, how like time wise, we were so far removed from 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Cosby's so
Things change.
yeah, right.
Yeah, because we
But-
find out information.
Yeah, no.
And
Jerry Seinfeld just sitting there just praising the wonders of Bill Cosby. And
but that's not like Jerry Seinfeld can have that opinion in 1999, and that's still true. Like, I know I'm beating a dead horse and saying that both can be true, and that's okay.
yeah, and that's not what I'm saying at all. It's interesting. It's funny that there's a significant part of a documentary featuring Jerry Seinfeld, a beloved man who dated a high schooler, who is like dedicated to how great Bill Cosby is. It's interesting. It's funny. Go back and take a look at it. That's all I'm saying. Not that this is important and poignant or anything like that.
He had a hell of a career. I mean,
Listen, you don't get to be a syndicated show like the Cosby Show and not be culturally important.
You sure about that?
Maybe.
You sure about that?
You got that one.
dialed in.
Got that one dialed in.
And at the end of the day,
Yeah, this could be a podcast. Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to that. I know that you guys have a better understanding about what's happening in the world right now than we do.
or do you?
Or do you? I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that I need money because I'm stuck in Japan and I need your assistance. Please help now.
Send whatever currency they accept. I think Bitcoin is huge over there.
I don't know if it is.
Who knows?
Well, I'll find out. I'll ask people. I'll ask people in Japan.